And then we have two really good speakers from Amazon who's joined us. And then I would be giving a quick talk on developing an intelligent entity extraction tool using Amazon Textract. We also have a very interesting lab session, which I hope all of you will love it. And then we have a quick slide talking about industry practices, best practices for using AWS Textract or Amazon Textract, and then quick industry use cases and benefits, followed by a demo, which is a solution that we have built in Idexcel, which we're going to showcase it to you guys. Okay, over to Megan. We can get started with the introduction to Idexcel slides.
Great, thank you so much. So Idexcel is a professional services and technology solutions provider headquartered in Herndon, Virginia, with 20 years of experience implementing complex technologies. We're an AWS exclusive partner specializing in artificial intelligence, machine learning, data services, and cloud services for both commercial and public sector customers. We have over 100 AWS certified cloud practitioners on our team and hold plenty of various competencies within the AWS ecosystem. Idexcel is focused on supporting the AWS cloud and are an advanced AWS partner and reseller. We've achieved competencies in migration, DevOps, financial services, and are expecting 2 more by the end of the year that we're really excited about. We're also recognized as a public sector partner with authorization to resell and service the AWS GovCloud. We're also a preferred partner for the Well-Architected Framework program and an Immersion Day partner, as you can see by attending this event today. We specialize in 4 core service areas, thank you, Vish, with extensive expertise in migration, machine learning, cloud native services, and data modernization. So let's get to know our speakers a bit now that you've gotten a bit of an intro from Idexcel. Stephanie Pace is a Senior Partner Development Lead at AWS, specializing in business development and strategic partnerships. She helps define and drive strategy across matrix services, companies, and alliances, extending through product development, sales, and marketing, and she'll be presenting on helping customers adopt machine learning and unleash critical data insights. Our next speaker that will be presenting on how Textract can benefit everyone who uses documents is Kashif Imran. He's a Principal Solutions Architect at Amazon Web Services, providing technical guidance and design advice to implement computer vision applications at scale. We're really excited for his portion of the presentation. And now from Idexcel, Vish leads Idexcel's AI and automation practice. He'll be leading the 3rd part of our presentation with a deep dive into the technical side of Textract, as well as working with you all on the lab later on this afternoon. So before we get started with Stephanie, we've actually set up a couple of polls. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this, and you should see this. And we'll give everybody about a minute to respond since we've got quite a few participants. You guys can take a few minutes to answer both 1 and 2 in this first poll. Give everybody about another 30 seconds and oh, lots more votes coming in. Thank you guys. All right, ending the poll in about 10 seconds. 9, 8. All right. So now I'm going to share the results with you so you guys can see what we're looking at. So are you currently implementing Textract in your organization? 36% of you are, 45% are not, and 18% of you guys are not sure. Some of the data extraction tools currently being used, 9% said Doc Parser, 18% said Abby, 0% using Rossum, and 36% other. 55% of you, about half, are not implementing a data extraction tool. All right, thank you guys for participating. And then I'm gonna do one more poll. Just to get a feel for what AWS technologies you guys are using. Give everybody a minute or so. So I'm getting a message that some of you guys are not seeing the poll. Well, one person. I will go ahead and take a look at that for the next couple of ones while the first presentation is happening and get back to you. Seems the majority of it is working for most folks. All right, so I'm gonna end the poll in about 10 seconds since it looks like everybody has voted. And I'll share the results with everyone. 33% are using Textract, 17% Lex, 8% Recognition, 17% Transcribe, and then 67% are using another AWS. Thank you all so much for participating in that poll. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Stephanie Pace for the first part of our Textract presentation.
Great, thanks, Megan. I'm just going to share my screen. So,
perfect.
Can everyone see that?
Yep, I can see it.
Great. So before I kick into sort of the typical presentation around machine learning, AWS, and obviously Textract, I want to just say thank you very much to the Idexcel team. It's always an incredible privilege to partner with companies like Idexcel, and certainly to be able to have a conversation with Idexcel's customers or potential customers about how AWS and partners like Idexcel are working together to help customers achieve business objectives. So thank you very much to the team for allowing us this opportunity. Obviously, my name is Stephanie Pace. I am the partner lead for Textract. So that means that I work with Textract partners in finding new routes to market and specifically looking at how we can help customers achieve Textract sort of implementations. Where we want to start with Textract is actually from a 1,000-foot view, which is around machine learning. Machine learning, as you can see from the screen, it's obviously an aspirational, or what was considered to be an aspirational technology, and it's moved to mainstream incredibly quickly. For a long time, technology was limited to kind of hardcore academic researchers. Machine learning was very much an academic type of endeavor. But as cloud computing has moved into the mainstream, we've really seen it move from, we've seen machine learning move from the peripheral into pretty much every segment of the industries. So healthcare, retail. I know a lot of the attendees on this call are actually in the finance industry. And what we're seeing is that really the opportunity, the market opportunity for customers applying machine learning to create better business insights is expanding rapidly. In fact, the IDC has predicted that by 2021, so next year, global spending on artificial intelligence and machine learning will actually expand to just over $50 billion globally. So it's a significant area of growth, and certainly we're seeing it really provide incredible business benefits. And those business benefits are to tens of thousands of customers. So we find that, well, we can show that machine learning happens on AWS more than anywhere else. So the largest enterprises such as, Twitter, Toyota, all the way through to the smaller startups. AWS has twice the number of machine learning public references and customers than any other platform provider, cloud provider. So for instance, NASCAR uses some of our machine learning tools to enhance metadata and captions for their new video series and surfacing video clips to 80 million fans. Intuit also uses ML tools to pull years worth of bank transactions through a machine learning algorithm and identify $4,000 in business expenses that it can save every customer. And Cerner is using their machine learning tools to help predict congestive heart failure up to 18 months before clinical manifestation. So it is very, very predominant in the industry, and we have quite an incredible story to tell when it comes to machine learning and its business benefit. In machine learning, we have three key layers. The bottom layer is frameworks and infrastructure. So that framework and infrastructure is very much for those individuals comfortable building and maintaining their own machine learning platform and the underlying architecture. That middle layer, the machine learning services layer, is where we make it easy for machine learning developers or data scientists to build, train, and deploy machine learning models like SageMaker, for instance. And then at the top layer, we have what we call AI services. And the AI services allow developers to use pre-trained and auto-trained models or applications or services to add intelligence without any prior machine learning expertise. And in fact, this is where Amazon Textract actually sits. So you'll see, it sits right at the top there. And specifically, it deals with text. So why text? Dealing with documents is actually a pretty painful problem. And most people do one of a few things with regards to documents and document digitization. They have either thousands of humans who sit with documents at a terminal and type everything in. It's slow, it's expensive, and quite frankly, it's error prone. Humans, we're fallible. So what some people have started to do is use something called OCR, optical character recognition. And the issue with optical character recognition is actually it's a kind of a dumb protocol. It takes all the language and just takes it as it comes. It kind of ingests it and extracts it, but doesn't use any intelligence to be able to apply that information. So there's an endless number of ways that text can be interpreted. And customers often find that they're frustrated, especially when putting different types of documents through an OCR service or application, because ultimately the different type of documents means that they're getting different information pulled for different fields every time. So that is really the reason why we actually felt that it was necessary to actually move to Amazon Textract, or at least find a solution for customers who were experiencing this issue. And it is absolutely every customer, because every customer is trying desperately to detect and extract text and data from scanned documents. We're overcoming the traditional challenges that we saw in OCR by automating document workflows, enabling people to process millions of documents and pages in an hour. And once the information is captured, we can actually then maintain compliance, which I know, again, is very important for industries such as medical, legal, and specifically finance. In fact, one of the key areas that we deal with is around financial documents such as loan applications, insurance claims, and even looking towards historical contracts. So obviously we have document analysis, and we also have text extraction, table extraction, and form extraction. Now, obviously, Kashif is going to go into additional information around Amazon Textract specifically, but I wanted to give a business overview of what the value of machine learning is, how AWS has positioned it, and obviously Textract and what Textract can provide from a business benefit perspective to customers in any industry, including finance. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Megan, over to you.
Thank you so much. So we are actually moving right into the presentation with Kashif. So you are up. We're so excited. Thank you. Hey. Oh, you're on unmute.
Oh, sorry. All right. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay now? All right. So let me share my screen and just want to make sure everybody can hear me okay.
You're good to go.
All right. So if you can just confirm, Megan, you can hear me and you can see my screen.
Yep, perfect.
All right, awesome. So thanks, Megan, and thank you everybody for attending the session. As Megan introduced earlier, my name is Kashif Imran, and I'm a Principal Solutions Architect in the AWS AI. I work with the large number of AWS customers who are taking advantage of AI and machine learning to solve complex business problems, more specifically using computer vision at large scale. So I'll be, diving deep a little bit into Amazon Textract, how it can help you, in your journey for document processing. But let me take a step back and talk a little bit, Stephanie talked a little bit about the AI ML Stack. I want to emphasize, a few more things is because our goal at AWS is really to put machine learning in the hands of every developer. And the idea here is, regardless of the size of the organization, whether, it's a small organization, whether you're a startup going all the way to, large scale enterprises, you can take advantage of AI and machine learning services from the AI ML stack to build really powerful applications. So the way we are, enabling developers is by providing the broadest and most complete set of machine learning capabilities. And as Stephanie mentioned earlier, the AI ML stack, I sometimes refer this as a 3-layer cake, if you will, is divided in these 3 layers. So bottom layer is where, whichever tool you pick, depending on the problem that you're solving, whether you want to run frameworks like TensorFlow, MXNet, PyTorch, AWS provides you the best platform to run many of those frameworks. The middle layer is where, as machine learning practitioner, data scientists, or ML engineers, as you're building your machine learning models, going through the whole end-to-end life cycle, starting with data ingestion, cleanup, building your model, training your model, deploying those models in a highly available and highly scalable environment, and then going through that iterative process. That's where that middle layer and SageMaker provide you a wide variety of services to help you with your end-to-end machine learning journey. And the top layer, AI services, the idea here is at AWS, we have solved many of those common problems and deployed, those machine learning models in highly available, highly scalable environment and expose them using very simple to use APIs. In addition to that, we also then make SDKs available in wide variety of programming languages. So, whether you're a Java developer, Node.js, Python, .NET, and so on, you can just pick up the SDK and start programming against those APIs. So as a developer, without knowing any machine learning experience, you can build really powerful applications by taking advantage of these AI services. So today's session, obviously focused on the text, and that's where Amazon Textract. And Stephanie talked about, why it's important because the documents are still kind of the primary tool of communication across many of these industries, whether it's, paper-based documents or scanned documents. And that's where Textract makes it really easy because Textract can read these documents, like you would expect a person to read. So you don't have to define templates and so on. And whether you're processing financial documents, healthcare documents, government forms and so on, Textract can make it very easy to process that. So before we dive deep into how Textract does some of this, let's talk a little bit about, some of the, typical documents many businesses that expect to process. If documents were just kind of flat, lines of text and words, things would be probably not so interesting. What makes it challenging is many of the documents that businesses want to process typically have, interesting structure in those. So a lot of times, for example, you might have forms, as an example, maybe you have names in there, other type of fields, social security, and a lot of other, key value type data. And a lot of times as a business, you're interested in extracting those specific entities, if you will, and not just raw text out of those documents. Documents can have, different things like checkboxes, radio buttons, and those kind of fields, which then you want to know what is the value that's selected for those types of fields. So really kind of understanding, the structure data in those documents. Another challenge in document processing that a lot of times customers run into is the variation of the documents. So looking at, supposedly, a W-2, which is a very common tax form in US, can have hundreds of variations. And that makes it, interesting to process such of these documents. Let's take a little bit of different approaches that customers have been using in the past, where, some have used like manual processing, which, can be expensive, time consuming, and you just cannot scale, by doing basically manual processes for document extraction and processing. Another approach I've been using traditional OCR technologies, which gives you like flat bag of words, if you will, and Stephanie talked about that. Again, the challenge there is just few example documents that I showed. If documents didn't have that kind of interesting structure, maybe OCR would work. But a lot of times, documents have things like tables, those forms, and so on. And that's where OCR just give you a flat bag of words. So another approach in the past that people have applied is maybe use OCR with some rules or template-based approach. The issue with that is, as I just showed you, just alone a form like W-2 have hundreds of variations. So it means for each form, you might be defining dozens or hundreds of those templates. Slight variation in those templates can easily break them. And it obviously takes a lot of development and management overhead to create and manage those templates over time. And that's where Amazon Textract comes in. So Textract gives you 3 core features. The first is text extraction, or OCR++, if you will, where it's going to give you things like words and lines from the document, as well as additional information such as bounding box information of where each of those words and lines are, things like confidence score for each one of those, and you'll be able to then set certain threshold and use, for example, later in the session, I'll talk about how you can bring human into this workflow. The second Textract does is it can do table extraction. So the idea is if your documents have tables, you can extract tables as well as cells, content within those cells, and so on. And then the form extraction. So again, if you have key value type within the documents. Let's quickly look at an example document. So here you can see it's a liability insurance form. At the top, there is a bunch of lines. So Textract is able to, give you different sentences, words, and numbers out of those. In the middle part, you see data is organized into a table. So Textract will return you things like, different cells in rows and columns and so on, as well as the forms data. Let me switch to a quick demo. I think it makes it a little bit easier to see some of this in action. So let me just maximize my screen. And let me log into the console. So here I'm in the AWS console for Amazon Textract. You can see on the left, I have a sample document, which is just a sample employment application form. There are some key value structure at the top. We have things like full name, phone number, and so on. And then there is a table at the bottom. So as I mentioned, there are 3 features. The first tab on the right is showing the first one, which is the OCR feature. This is where you see all different lines and text, which is extracted out of the document. And if I click on any of these lines, for example, you can see the corresponding text on the left get selected. That's because when Textract is returning these elements, whether these are words or lines, it gives you the bounding box coordinate of where that text is in the document. And I'll talk, later, like how, some of the bounding box information can be useful. For example, maybe if you wanted to redact certain parts of the document, that's where some of that can be very helpful. Let's look at the forms feature. So again, in this case, you can see Textract for this document extracted different fields like, full name, phone number, and so on, and, giving you the value. So the idea is, again, instead of just getting the raw text out and doing some sort of NLP, natural language processing on top of that raw text to get these values, you just call Textract directly, and it's able to do all that work, by taking advantage of different deep learning models that we have developed behind the scene, which, you don't have to worry about those because you're just calling the APIs. And we'll get into APIs in a minute and on how you would kind of do or build the similar application by using the APIs. Next, let me switch to the tables tab. So in this case, you can see, Textract detected the table and returning the content within, each cell and so on. And again, the idea here is by extracting all this tabular data, there are different ways you can use this. You might want to do some validation across rows. There might be some aggregations or for example, you might want to do across columns and so on. So depending on your business data, there are different ways you can then take advantage of that all the tabular data extracted from those scanned documents using Amazon Textract. Another thing I just want to highlight in the console is once you try your sample document, you can just click on download results, and it gives you a zip file, which you can, gives you a couple of things. So if I unzip that, so the things it gives you is basically the raw JSON response, as well as things like CSV file, which has different key values extracted out of this. Let me just open that. So you can see here is different key values which were part of that form. The reason I suggest a lot of times when you're starting with Amazon Textract to take advantage of the console, because it can be pretty quick. You know, if you're doing a POC, you can just bring in your document, quickly upload it into the console, and you can see how it's extracting text as well as key value data and tabular data for your documents. Once you quickly validate, how your documents are working within the console, that's when, then you can move to the API and build your application and so on. So with that, let's get into the Textract APIs and how, as developers, you can build applications very easily using Amazon Textract. So Amazon Textract provides two core APIs. One is called detect document text, and another is called analyze document. What detect document text gives you is, as I mentioned, there are three core features, the OCR++, forms and tables. So detect document text gives you the first one, which is the text piece. So you get, when you send a document, you get, the structure like pages, the lines within those, words within those pages, as well as additional information such as bounding box information, confidence scores, and so on. Analyze document, on the other hand, give you all three of these. So as when you call analyze document, you can specify whether you are interested in form extraction or table extraction or both. And as part of that, it automatically gives you the text as well. Both of these APIs, whether it's detect text or analyze document, there are two ways you can call these. You can call them synchronously, or you can call them asynchronously. When you call these APIs in a synchronous fashion, the idea is this is for low latency type use cases. Maybe you have a mobile capture, you get a single page document, you want to call Textract, get the response pretty quickly, and then continue with the workflow. That's where you will call the sync API. If you have multi-page large documents, thousands of pages, that's where, you want to use asynchronous API, because if you are processing, a couple of hundred or a few thousand pages, you don't necessarily want to, call Textract and then wait for it to complete. When you use the asynchronous fashion, what Textract does, it takes the document, process it, and then notify you when the document is processed, and then you can go and get the results. So here is how the request and response looks like for the synchronous APIs. You simply send the document. For the sync API, you can either send it as raw bytes. So when you make the request, you can pass the document as part of that request, or you can send it as the S3 object. For analyze document, there is an additional attribute called feature types. That's how you specify whether you are interested in forms or tables or both. And you get a response back, which is basically all the elements that are extracted out of that document. And those extracted elements are basically represented as blocks. So you get different blocks for each type. For example, a block type, for word and line, for key value and table cell, and so on. When you go to the asynchronous API, the pattern there is you have the idea of start job. So for example, if you're just interested in the raw OCR, you can just use start document text detection. And if you want basically the forms and tables, you can do start document analysis. So when you do the start job, you just again pass the S3 object that you want to process, as well as a few additional things like the SNS topic ARN. And that's how, once the job is complete, Textract can then notify you using that SNS topic. When you do the start job, you get a response back, basically a job ID, and that's the ID then you can use to get the results. So once the job is complete, you can just call get APIs, which again, if you use the start document text detection, you'll use the get document text detection to get the results. For forms and tables, you'll do get document analysis, pass the job ID, and you get the JSON results back. So let me switch to a quick demo and show you how easy it is to take advantage of these Textract APIs. So in the first example, let me just zoom in a little bit. So in the first example, here I have a couple of samples. And all of these sample code that I'm showing in the session today, it's all listed in the AWS GitHub repo. In fact, I just want to point you to that. So if you go to AWS samples GitHub repo and search for Textract, here is the code samples where all of these are listed. So you can just get these. They're available in Python and a few other languages and so on. So let me switch to the code sample here. So the first one, we're just going to see how you will call the detect document text API. So in this case, I'm going to use this simple document image. So we have just a simple document with few lines. Let's see how you'll use Amazon Textract with a document like this. So in this case, I'm using Boto 3, which is the Python SDK for AWS. So I'm just saying, here is my document name. We are reading that document, and then we are initializing a client for Textract. And then using that client, we just call the detect document text API, because in this case, I'm only interested in raw text. And we're passing, in this case, the document as part of that request. We get the response back, and then we can just basically go through the response and print it. So let me go ahead and run the sample. So you can see when we send the document, we get the response back, and out of that response, we're just printing the text that we extracted. Similar example, the second one just shows you pretty much the same thing, but in this case, instead of processing a local document, I have put the same document in an S3 bucket. So similarly, again, we initialize a Textract client, and we call the detect document text. But in this case, I'm passing the document as S3 object, and rest of the response looks exactly the same. So this was just a quick example to show how you can call detect text API. Let me switch to a little bit more interesting one. So in this case, you earlier saw the employment application. So I have the same document here on my machine. So let's see how we were showing this earlier in the console, how you can call Textract and get these key values. Let's see what does it take to do that from the API perspective. So here is the sample. Let me run this sample, and then I'll walk you through what this does. So in this case, we're sending that employment application form to Amazon Textract. So again, I have that document in this case in my S3 bucket. We're initializing Textract client. And then we call, instead of detect document text that you saw earlier, in this case, now I'm calling analyze document. And I'm saying I'm interested in the feature type form, meaning you only extract the key values that are in the form. We get the JSON response back. And then I'm just using a simple JSON parser here, which again, we have published that on the AWS GitHub samples repo. So I just pass that response to the parser, and then I can just iterate over different elements which are in that JSON. So I can say for each page, for each field which is part of that form, go ahead and print those key values. So you can see in this case, as I showed the document earlier, had fields like so sorry about that. Let me switch back to the sample. So in this case, we were saying all the key values for this employment form. So you can see there are things like full name, phone number, and so on. And we're able to extract those key values just with few lines of code. Let me show you another example. In this case, because we're getting all of this key value information, and as I mentioned, you also get like bounding box information as part of it. So one thing what you can do is use a similar example, but then use that bounding box information. So pretty much the start is the same. I have the same employment application form. We call Textract. We get the JSON response back. But then as we iterate through this, we can see, okay, if there is any of the fields has address in them, maybe those need to be redacted. So we just use the bounding box information, and then we draw a box and create.
Are you sharing your screen?
Oh, sorry about that.
Make sure.
Let me see. I was, and see if anything happened. Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
All right.
Presentation,
okay.
and then.
All right. Do you see the code now?
Yeah, I think so. Looking at the code. Yeah, perfect.
Yep. Okay. All right. So sorry, not sure what caused the screen sharing to be stopped. So let me just kind of go through this quickly again, the redaction sample, where the earlier form example, it's the similar example. The idea is we have this employment application form in an S3 bucket. We're initializing a Textract client, calling the analyze document, get the JSON response back, and then we're using bounding box information here. So in this case, we're saying wherever the field has address in it, let's use the bounding box information and then draw a box on the image and create a redacted version of that. So let me run this sample. So you'll see in this case, we redacted that. And here is the redacted version of the document that's got generated. So for the document, we have redacted these fields. The last sample I just want to run is the tables. So let's see, in this case, this one. So in this case, again, what I have is the same document in an S3 bucket, initialize the Textract client, but now feature types, instead of calling forms, now we're saying, hey, we're interested in tables, and you could specify both. You can say tables as well as forms, and then Textract will extract both of those. We get the JSON response back, and then again, you can see I'm just iterating over the return JSON and saying, for each table, for each row, print the text that's part of each cell. So you see, how easy it is to take a document, call Amazon Textract, extract the raw text as well as the structured data, including key values and table, and then process them in your application. There is a wide variety of other samples here, and the idea is Textract is one of the building blocks. So once you use Amazon Textract to get that structured data out of the documents, there are other AWS services that you can use with that extracted text. For example, there are things like you can use Amazon Comprehend. So maybe you have a document where you don't necessarily have a structured data, it's not like a key value type structure. So in that case, maybe you have some contract where there's paragraphs of text and you want to extract certain entities out of those. So first you use Amazon Textract to get the text, and then you can call Comprehend to detect some of those entities. So for example, let me just run this sample real quick. So when we run this sample, in this case, again, we're using the similar document that I showed earlier. But once we get the text out, in this case, we initialize a client for Comprehend, and then we call Comprehend to do like sentiment analysis. Or you can say, give me all the entities that are part of this text. So you can see in this text, I had, company name, I have some city name, and so on. So you can see this is where Comprehend is able to detect, all right, there is organization name, there is location there are dates in there, and so on. So you can combine Amazon Textract with wide variety of other AWS services to build really, really powerful solutions. With that, let me continue with some common use cases that we've seen customers build. So there is wide variety of interesting use cases we have seen customers are using Amazon Textract for. Stephanie talked about some of those. At a high level, many of those use cases can be put into three buckets. The first one is the index and search. So the idea is basically enable search and discovery use cases. So we have seen, customers in energy sector, for example, extracting tabular data from decades of historical records. We have seen some hedge fund customers parsing flat PDF prospectuses, law firms extracting data from printed and flat discovery materials to really enable the search and discovery of those documents. And this is where, you can, again, Amazon Textract is the first building block. So you call Textract with your scanned documents or scanned PDFs and so on, get that text as well as structured data out, and then use services like, Amazon Elasticsearch or Candra and so on to then enable that search experience. The second type of use cases are around compliance and control. And this is where, we have seen where you have, if you have, maybe tons and tons of these scanned documents or paper-based documents, for example, a lot of times, it's hard to really ensure the compliance for those type of documents, because depending on the region where those are, maybe some of those need to be redacted certain parts of the documents before they get stored. Maybe some of those documents need to be deleted after a certain time window, or some type of encryption control needs to be applied depending on, the sensitivity of the documents and so on. So we have seen, many European customers, for example, parsing warehouses full of customer contracts to comply with GDPR, and in many of the other regions around similar type of use cases. We have a pharma customer who is extracting marketing information from drug advertisements, and again, doing some analysis on top of that to ensure the compliance. Third area of use case is around business process automation. And this is where, the idea is many customers who have a lot of these business process workflows where you're getting a lot of these, scanned documents, which then needs to be processed to, whether it's loan processing application, mortgage processing, there's, wide variety of those business processes that are happening which can then be automated. So we have seen, a lot of use cases around financial industry, many financial customers automating ingestion of, tax forms, W-2, and many of the other types of applications. There are some automotive resellers, for example, using Textract to process title documents and extract, different pieces of information to apply for business rules and so on. And again, as I mentioned, the idea is you use Textract as sort of one of the building blocks, get that content out, and then combine it with some of the other AWS services to build your end-to-end solution. We have an example solution, and it's published on the AWS GitHub repo as well. I went ahead and deployed that in my AWS account. So let me just kind of show you how some of these, like this demo kind of highlights some of these use cases, which then you can implement similar type of use cases as well. So here I have in the demo just uploaded a few sample documents, and it's already run Textract on these and then index that text into Elasticsearch. So for example, let me search for word Jane. And it filters. So the first step is out of multiple documents, it's able to narrow down to, help me to a specific document which has that keyword and so on. Let me select that specific document. So a lot of times what happens is, in search and discovery type use cases, the first step is, okay, I am able to narrow down out of that large number of documents to a specific document that I want. But then when you download the document, if it was a scanned document, scanned PDF or image, you don't necessarily get the offline search capability, because at the end of the day, the source document itself was just an image. But in this case, what you can do is when you get content back from Textract, you can then generate searchable PDFs, for example. So in this case, I just downloaded that searchable PDF. Let me open that. Let me just do, let's say, search for word full name. You can see in this case, I'm able to search for that, select it. I can, copy that, and I can, paste that text and so on. So the idea here is for search and discovery type use cases, first you can narrow down to a specific document out of multiple documents. And then because you're able to generate that searchable PDF, you can, when the download the document, have that offline search experience as well. We looked at some of these capabilities earlier in the console where Textract is extracting these key values and so on. And I showed you a sample around redaction, but the same idea, what this demo does is where, for this document, for example, I might say, let's redact, all the fields where there is home address. I'm just using UI in this case. In many of the business processes, you will probably have some rules where document comes in, you use Amazon Textract, extract all the key values, and then based on some of those business rules, we'll redact certain fields and generate the redacted document and so on. Okay, so with this demo, let's continue on. Next, I want to talk about Amazon Augmented AI, or A2I in short. And the idea here is a lot of times when you are building these document processing workflows, there are use cases where you maybe want to bring machine learning and humans to work together. So like, what are some of those use cases? Maybe depending on, there might be some regulatory requirements, for example. There might be some, nuanced criteria. There may be some sensitive documents, for example, maybe you're issuing a loan. Or there could be, some hard to read documents. So because of some of the quality issues, maybe you want to make sure when you get the results back from machine learning, from those ML models, maybe some of those fields need to be validated. And that's where A2I comes in and helps. So the idea is you have a client application. It calls service like Amazon Textract. If, as I mentioned earlier, as part of that content extraction, Amazon Textract also return you confidence scores. So let's say if you get, high confidence predictions, then you can basically go ahead and consume that result. But if the confidence score is maybe below a certain threshold, that's where it can basically send for a human review. You can have one person to review, or you can have multiple reviewers, for example. And once they review, those results get consolidated and put it in an S3 bucket, which then your application can consume. We have many customers looking at that. NHS, for example, they were really excited to see Amazon Textract and A2I work together because it really enables them to bring the power of machine learning and automate all this extraction, but also have the capability of human review as part of that process. So with A2I, there are a couple of options that you get. One is, as I mentioned, you can use confidence score to set certain threshold, where you can say if the confidence score for the value is below a certain threshold, let's do a human review. You could also say things like, maybe as auditing, some X% of the value should always go for a human review and so on. Or if there are certain important keys that you always want to go for human review, you can set those kind of rules as well. So instead of, manual processing, you still get the automation by combining ML and humans. It's still less expensive and less time consuming, but you also get the effectiveness, from Textract and have the human review to get really the confidence based on the application you need. Let me switch to a demo to kind of show you this in action. So here I'm in the A2I console. Let me just refresh that because I logged in earlier. So the first step to use Amazon A2I is you come in and you can create a human review workflow. You just give it a name. You can define an S3 bucket. This is where the results of this review should go. It is an IAM role that it assigned to A2I that it can use to process that document. And then you can see in this case, Textract is nicely integrated with A2I. So you just get to pick like, hey, I want a task where workers can review for the key value pair validation, for example. And then you get to define different types of rules. So in this case, I can say, hey, trigger a human review workflow when maybe the confidence score is, let's say between 0 and 90. So which means for my use case, if I get a value back and the confidence score is, 91% and so on, then I don't necessarily need a human review. But if it's below 90%, then we'll need a human review for that. So you just define some of these rules. This is where, the randomly selection, you can say, all right, maybe 10% of my documents should always go for a human review. So that way, maybe you can audit your pipeline to make sure that it's working as expected. Next, you can select the template. So in this case, we'll just use the default template. You just give it some description. And the idea is it'll be more clear when I show you how it looks like from a human review perspective. But the idea is that human reviewers are going to get some UI out of the box, and you have different options to customize it if you want. But out of the box, they get some UI that they can work with. When it comes to workers, again, you have a couple of options. So you can use Mechanical Turk, which, in this case, those documents go for some of those contractors worldwide. A lot of document processing space, especially, when you have financial documents, healthcare documents, those, usually, we expect customers mostly either use a private team, or you have the option to use some specific vendors that we have curated. So you just select that. In case of private, what you can do is you can basically have your own staff, for example, part of that private team. And then when those documents get processed, they go to your specific team to review that content. I have already gone ahead and created one of these rules. So I will just go ahead and use one of that existing workflow. The second thing, what I'm going to do is I will just point everybody to this blog, which have a sample solution. And what this does is when you deploy the solution, it adds a few components, things like some Lambda functions, some step functions, and so on, to basically have a whole workflow. And the idea here is I upload a document to an S3 bucket, which triggers the Lambda function, which then go and takes each page of the document, call Amazon Textract for that, and pass that human review workflow, which I had created. Textract then get the results back, apply those rules that I have set for the confidence score and so on, call A2I, and then if it's needed, A2I will kick off a workflow. If it's not needed, Textract just gives you the results back. If A2I kicks off a workflow, then a human reviewer will see that. And once they confirm the results, then you get the results back. So I have deployed this, this solution. So I'm just gonna go to my S3 bucket, which that solution basically creates for you. So I'll go to that uploads folder, and I'm gonna go ahead and upload a sample PDF document that I have. I'll upload that document. So behind the scene, what's happening is once this document gets uploaded, it's going to kick off a Lambda function and a workflow and so on. And let me show you while it's kicking off that, where do you create different teams? So in my workflow, you saw 3 options, and this is how you can use those. So if you come to this tab for Amazon SageMaker console and labeling workforce, you can either set up a vendor, or you can go to the private tab and configure your own team. So in this case, I have configured a private team of my own, and I have added myself to that team, and I'm logged into the portal that you get from this tab for your specific team that you set up. So once I go there and refresh the page, you can see I already have a job or a task to work on. So let's click on Start Working. So this is the screen that your human reviewers will see for the document. So here you can see I have this specific document, and I had set a rule saying if the mail address, the confidence code is below a certain threshold, then the human review should get kicked off. We can see we had to craft this document in interesting ways to make sure that the value doesn't get detected for this mail address. So let me go ahead. You can see it says value is blank. So I can go ahead as a reviewer, type Main Street, Anytown. It did detect the value with this colon. So let me just select that as blank, and I'll just hit submit. For the second page, so it's this PDF has 2 pages. So again, for the second page, same thing here. You can see mail address. So I'll go ahead and enter the value for this one. And similarly, you can adjust, for example, the values detected for the other fields and so on, and hit submit. This PDF that I had has only 2 pages, so both of the tasks are complete. Once the A2I completes those, it generates a notification, which again, the solution has deployed some Lambda function and so on, which can then get triggered based on that notification. And then it goes and combine the results and generate a final output back in the same S3 bucket. So let's go back to the S3 bucket, and you see now we have a complete folder. For that specific document, I have an output file. So let me download that CSV and open that up. So here you see the output for both the pages. So for first page, you can see Textract. What it's showing you is all the fields that the Textract detected. So the column, we just put the word AI in this case. This is what the Textract was detecting. And here is what based on the human review we got back. So you can see for mail address, I had typed in the value. For the mail address colon, I had just left that empty. Similarly for page 2, here is the mail address, and I had typed in the value, so you can see that. So this is how you can combine machine learning along with the human reviews to really enable interesting and powerful use cases. With that, just to kind of summarize, again, Textract gives you 3 core features: the OCR as well as form and table extraction. And by extracting that structured data out of the documents, you can really enable interesting and powerful use cases. So it makes it really easy to extract that data. It reduces and eliminate all the manual effort. It's lowers the document processing cost overall. And the most important part is there's no machine learning experience required to use Textract. So as a developer, you just get the SDK, start calling the APIs, and you can really build interesting use cases. And especially when you combine then Amazon Textract output with a variety of other AWS services if you want, depending on the use case and so on. With that, I'll pass back on to Megan.
Great, thank you all. So next up, we actually have just a little bit of a Q&A session. So if anybody has any specific questions, feel free to add them here and we can actually answer them live. It seems like a lot of our questions have already been answered. Bish, do you want to go ahead and share the presentation for the next bit? Perfect.
Hey, Megan, you should see my screen now.
Yep, awesome. Thank you so much. So now what we're going to do is, since nobody has a Q&A, we're going to go ahead and do a system setup for the lab. So Vish, go ahead and you can take the reins here for explaining what that is for everybody.
Sure, I would do that. Hey guys, I think so those who are attending the session should have got an email from Idexcel I think you should have got the instructions to set up the system. Just 3 steps: download and install the workspace client for your favorite device. If you're taking it in a PC, if you're taking it in a Mac or an iPad, uh, or any of the devices. So please go ahead and install the Amazon Workspace client application. The link for that is also in the email. It is, just to repeat, it is clients.amazonworkspaces.com. Once you go there, you have the different choices of devices that are available. You just have to select the right device, and I think you can go ahead and download it. Once you download, the email also has something called as a registration code. In the email also has a attached PDF which has a screenshot of how to enter the registration code. Request you all to please enter the registration code, and yeah, you have every one of you will have a dedicated username and a password which you just have to enter, and then you can have your workspace machine up and running. The reason why we're doing it now is that we have the necessary infra ready for you for the lab session. Okay, please do let us know in case there are any technical challenges that you have, or if there's any questions that you have. Otherwise, in the chat, we'll move on further. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you all so much. And then definitely, yep, just chat us, and then we will make sure that we take care of any issues if you have any. So now we've actually got one of our other polls. So I'm going to launch this poll, and this is about assessment readiness. So I'll give everybody a minute or so to add their responses to the poll, and then we will move forward. Give everybody another 20 seconds or so. I see some votes still coming in. All right, another 10, 15 seconds. Got some great results so far. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end this poll now, and then I will share the results with you. So we've got about 22% that are ready for an assessment or looking for one. 11% not no, 44% not yet, and then 22% of you are unsure. Now, so for those of you who responded yes, please shoot us an email, and let's see if we can help you move forward to schedule an assessment with one of our experts, and then we'll get that set up. And now Bish will go ahead and move forward with the rest of the more technical deep dive of the presentation. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you so much. And thank you very much for Kashif and Stephanie for your wonderful presentation. I think everybody loved it. Okay, so we'll quickly now get to the presentation which we have for you. So we're going to go a little a step behind, and then we're going to take it from there as such. So let's quickly understand the evolution of OCR. OCR as a technology from the very beginning. So there is, I think, before I get to OCR, there's an important element that we would want to discuss, and we believe is very true. I'm sure you would have found several reports that indicate AI being the next industrial revolution. You're already seeing a lot of movement happening there. And as part of this, an important aspect that it has been commonly discussed is that earlier industrial revolution was primarily focused on and in attempts to convert energy from one form to another and utilizing the energy to do the heavy lifting, which are the machines, right? So analogous to that in the current scenario, data is of importance to drive organizations' growth. And there are reports that indicate 80% of world's data are currently available in an unstructured format. Some of the unstructured data types, I'm sure all of you already are aware, are in the form of audio files, in the form of images, in the form of PDF files, in the form of scanned images, in the text files, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of value in these data that is hidden and waiting to be uncovered by companies themselves. So today we have access to those tools and technologies that can incorporate this data uncovering. But before we get there, let's have a brief understanding of the history of OCR. So it was in the year 1817, between 1817 to 1931, that the idea of OCR was first conceived. It was ideally created to help the blind to read. That's exactly how it all started. After which, between 1931 to 1954, the first OCR tool were developed to be able to interpret Morse codes and read it out loud. And then between 1954 to 1974, the technology became portable with an introduction of a device called as Opticon. There were specific typefaces. They were created to recognize characters. Typefaces mean, like I think all of us use Times New Roman, Tahoma, Calibri, and so on and so forth, right? So there was a specific typeface that was created to recognize characters. I think we still do see, an OCR-friendly typeface that is available in our checkbooks. Between 1974 to 2000, there was an evolution of a lot of scanners that came up to the market, where documents were scanned on a flatbed. There were also software that was designed which were capable of reading information from any text document. So that's still the last decade. And that's still the last century, in fact. The first decade of 2000 saw several different companies working on OCR solutions across the board. There are many software products and solutions that enable the extraction of text from documents, and it just only got faster and accurate. So that's OCR. We still call the traditional OCR. Only in the last decade, where advancements in artificial intelligence, especially in computer vision, and enabled us to develop intelligent solutions that can identify characters in a document with a very high precision. It can do classification of document basis the document layout into different categories, and so on and so forth. So along with computer vision, once we are able to extract the text, we then can employ another technology called as natural language processing, which helps in eliminating noise and differentiating text that is in the extracted data. For instance, like if there is a date, you can use NLP to specifically tag it as a date. So during the extraction process of a table, you can also identify if a column that has only currency values, we can then use NLP to regulate the extraction quality to identify only currencies. So these are all pretty much the advancements that we as in civilization have made in the last decade for us to get the accuracy where we have. I think this is exactly how OCR has evolved. There's also a Wikipedia page that talks about this. You can go and refer where I've taken this information from, and I've referred other information too. So let's move on to understand what is the need for intelligent data extraction. I think a quick overview was already given by Stephanie as to why the intelligent data extraction is necessary. I think some part of also was covered by Kashif, but however, I just want to reiterate some of the most important points. I think we all come across some type of form or the other occasionally where we fill our details to be submitted to various business touch points. I mean, this could be a doctor's appointment. This could be an instance where we are trying to go and visit a bank. We go and enroll in some service somewhere, and so on and so forth. For several purchases or for any exchange of service that we do, we also receive tax invoices. I'm sure all of us do get bills, right? Especially in financial services industry, information exchange in these types of unstructured documents. So all of these are unstructured document is very highly prevalent. We see that happening every now and then. And all this unstructured data that is floating around, this requires to be stored and this requires to be sorted. I mean, that aspect of storing and sorting the document is very essential for business. We'll understand why, right? I think some of the businesses are already doing it, and these companies who are doing this, of course, some of them, very few of them have an intelligent OCR solution built in, but most of them have their employees to do the data entry task, which certainly is quite inefficient. And of course, there is a lot of chance of human making a mistake. And once the mistake gets into the system, that's it. I believe the whole purpose of us trusting the system to us trusting the human to do this data entry is kind of going bad, right? As part of the effort to get companies to go digital, it is essential to digitize these documents. And the mentioned digital solution should be able to integrate very easily and should be able to adopt for existing business flow. Should not put a break or should not be a showstopper at any point of time. And most importantly, it should be future proof, because it's I think, yeah, that's like the most important problem that at least that we have heard as consultants when we talk to businesses. I mean, they always say that the process flow that is involved in integrating this intelligent OCR solution is either very laborious or it is not. I mean, it is not future proof, because there may be new documents that can come in future. There may be new types of form that can come in future, and all those are challenges that businesses have mentioned, which should be definitely not there, right? And data extraction tool should also be intelligent enough to classify and understand document types without errors, and they need to catalog the contents accordingly. Most importantly, document extraction tool should work on real world documents, because they are very different. I think you would find a lot of document extracting tool that is available in the market. I think some of people use that, and some of the common issues that they say is that the input document that comes are in several different orientation. It may be skewed. It may be tilted in a specific angle and things like that. And we also see scan files that have some characters missing because of the scan quality. That should be kind of handled by the document extraction tool that you're going for to incorporate in your organization. And there are also some files which have, usually there are these flatbed scanners, which not be of a very good quality, which will have like a line in between the entire, running through the entire page. I'm sure sometime or the other, if you're dealing with scanned documents, you would have found those kind of documents. And there are also a lot of older documents which already has some issue in the print, wearing off because it's old, right? So these are all the different variations of the actual real world document, that your OCR system should be able to at least handle with a decent amount of accuracy. and the tool should be able to provide you results in a speedy manner. And of course, accuracy is another important deciding factor for you to use that tool. And that's exactly what is intelligent document extraction. And I mean, we really need them as such. So Amazon Textract is that tool that meets most of the criteria that we just discussed and in the previous slide. And that's why it's called as an intelligent data extraction tool. So Amazon Textract is fully managed a machine learning service that is beyond an OCR. It can help us to identify, understand, and extract data from any documents for that matter. An extraction in general can be classified. I think we also saw that in Kashif slide explaining about it, where it is simple text extraction, which is called as OCR++, key value pair extraction from forms, and detect and extract information from table data, right? Those are the three broad categories three broad categories of extraction that we have. Some of the important benefits of using AWS Textract is that it is extremely fast. It can be scaled based on requirement, and it is accurate enough. There's no machine learning code that is required to be developed by software developers. As rightly mentioned by Kashif and Stephanie, the biggest important goal is to make these machine learning tools and techniques to be put in the hands of several developers as much as possible. Integration into existing applications is an ease because these are simple API services which can be called and can be integrated. It can be used for workloads that are subject to every single regulatory requirement. It is SOC compliant, ISO compliant, PCI, HIPAA, and GDPR for the European market. So this broadly covers usage of Textract across several industries. I mean, I think we did specifically see a slide that talks about the different industry where Textract will be useful, which Stephanie showed it to us earlier. It could be banking, insurance, commercial, accounting, healthcare, and in fact, anything else that you already saw in that slide. It is very easy to implement. Also, the human review, we also saw that demo from Kashif by integrating the Amazon Augmented AI service to gather human feedback for the text extracted from these documents. You saw that we should be able to set thresholds specifically for which we can have the human review. And we can also control the frequency of human review using the probability of the extracted text based on business requirement. So I think the example that we saw was where Kashif set 0 to 90% of the accuracy is between 0 to 90%, and that goes for a human review. Anything greater than 90% can be exported as the extracted text. So those are the main benefits that we have. One last slide that we definitely think is necessary is the comparison of traditional OCR versus Amazon Textract. Traditional OCR solutions are susceptible for errors, and they kind of not intelligent to understand what is being extracted. So it just extracts text like a sequence of text. That's all. That's what traditional OCR is probably good at. The extraction happens with several rules being written. If you would want to probably use a traditional OCR to extract a form, you then would have to write a lot of rules, which is very time consuming, especially for developers. And this in turn increases the complexity in extraction of data. And Amazon Textract, on the other hand, utilizes several machine learning algorithms and in turn extracts things in an intelligent manner. This can be done. There's a very important aspect that happens in the machine learning models. I just will give you a very high level. Textract, ideally does something called as mapping of the different entities in the document. It first identifies the individual word which are also called as entities. And these entities there's a relationship that is being built between the different entities, which specifically helps it to say that this key has this value, and this row belongs to this particular column, and so on and so forth. That's the most important part, which you don't have it in traditional OCR, and that's why Amazon Textract excels pretty much. You can also include suitable custom workflows. We saw Kashif, talking about downloading documents into S3, putting the results back into S3, and just one more thing that I would like to add to it specifically is once the unstructured data is converted into structured data, you could also store it right in AWS using an RDS database system. Or you could create your own EC2 machine and have your own database and have the data directly go to the database system. So that makes the data instantly valuable, and you can start deriving inferences from it. You can start getting value out of the data for your businesses. So that's like a very important concept that we all should understand, which are the differences between traditional OCR and Amazon Textract. So moving on, some of the basics of Amazon Textract extraction includes the following concepts or following terminologies. I think I just want to give you a brief overview. You would have heard some of these words by Kashif already, but yeah, we will explain as to what they are. Processing of documents is broadly, documents come as a single page document or a multi-page document. That's exactly where we involve asynchronous document processing or asynchronous document processing. So typically asynchronous document processing can be used for documents that have multiple pages, and you can combine them after all of the different pages are extracted to generate the output in the exact same way that you want. And Textract API requests can be broadly classified into two main types. One is detect text or analyze text. So detecting text, as the name suggests, is simply only used to extract the text content, whereas analyze text API is the one which will help you to classify the document into the different categories with different types that we have, and capture the different entities and the relationship between the objects too. So I think as OCR++, I think you can simply take it like this. OCR++ is probably detect text, and everything else you would need something like an analyze text. So we will also see that in the lab session when I show you the code. So the results of the text are identified as blocks. We will also see that in the code in the lab session when what do we mean by block. But just to understand, blocks are nothing but groups of text which are close to each other. So in this particular slide that you see, if I convert this into an image, I would probably find three blocks. One is the heading, and the second is all of the different bullets that we have as pointers, which I'm talking about, and the third is the Idexcel and AWS logo, which are together. So I think you can simply take that as an example for a block, right? Confidence score for individual extraction is very useful. Like we discussed, you can identify if there's a particular piece of information that the machine is having trouble in converting, and so on and so forth. You can bring in human review or whatever you want to do as such. So for technical teams, geometry of extraction also, which is traditionally called as bounding boxes, can be further used to customize the extraction. We saw Kashif using the bounding boxes to do redaction eventually. So output of extraction is available as open in the most commonly used open standard file format, which all of us are familiar with, which is JSON. That makes it very easy to integrate with any other dependent application. This could be an application that you are developing. It could be a mobile application that you already have hosted, and so on and so forth. But yeah, this is pretty important. For the first three different types of extraction that we discussed, which is typically simple text extraction, form data extraction, and table extraction. The JSON output contains a relevant output. For instance, in a simple text, output is available as lines and words of text, which are eventually blocks. For forms, key value pair are available, and for tables, the table structure is available. We will look at a quick example for each of them when we are looking at the lab session. That's exactly what you are going to do with the code that we already have set up for you in the lab session. I think before we get to the lab session, we'll also see a quick thing here because it'll be very easy for you to understand the lab session if you have a glimpse of this. Let's assume that the input text has two things as hello world, how are you, right? These are two things that are available in two separate lines. And the tree diagram that you see below has the following blocks. You have a page block, and then you have two line blocks. Hello world is one line block, and how are you is another line block. And within the line block, the next level of hierarchy is word blocks. So you have hello and you have world. And similarly for how are you, you would have three different word blocks. That's exactly how Textract produces the output. So as you see here on the top right JSON output, I think we see the individual words are identified as separate word blocks, and it indicates the top one is a page block, and the below is a line block. So that's, and you also see in the line block there's a specific confidence score. It says that it is able to understand that the text that is there, part of it is hello world, with a confidence of 99.63 and so on and so forth. So these are really useful things. I mean, as a developer, you getting the output at this detailed level will simply help you to use this in a much more robust way to make your application very robust. An example of a form extraction output will look like this. So you have a page. Let's assume the page has only one key value, where the text says name and Anna Carolina. So so you have a key called as name, and the value is of course Anna Carolina. So once you pass this to Textract, Textract produces an output which has the page block, and below the page block you have key and you have value. It identifies that it has this document structure that has been sent across as a key value. And we see the JSON output structure below showing the page block output, where key is in one line and value is in another line. And the other screenshot of the output on the right-hand side is the block objects for the individual words. So every one of them has its own confidence score. Yeah, all of them are above 99 because the input quality is really good. And yeah, but this is not how real world documents are. You do find instances where it is at a lower threshold. So we'll see the third type of output that we have, which is typically the table based output. Assuming that the input to Textract is a very simple table, you have the output of that will be identified using the below tree structure. So you have a page, which is the page block, and then you have table, and within table you have something called as a cell block. Within cell blocks you have the individual words that are available. So the right hand side JSON output shows the output which typically indicates that it is in a table format, and every one of the object will be as a different line. So we'll look at it in detail when we look at the lab session for this type of this thing as well. And there are several examples that are available for you to understand even better in GitHub and in the Amazon blogs. You should be able to pretty much find help everywhere to understand all this. Okay, so what we have also is an example architecture of the tool that we have created. I think this is like a template architecture which can be used by anybody who wants to build an extraction tool. So what the essential components is what we have covered here. And this is also the architecture of the solution that we are going to show to you later. So we have an UI for the user where he can input PDF for images. I think an interesting thing that you would definitely want to try is, even if you pass an input image, which is text-based PDF, right? Textract eventually converts that into image and then starts processing it. Yeah, so that clearly indicates that it starts off with computer vision to identify the document structure and classify the document structure to begin with, right? So so user will have a screen eventually which is a UI where he can input the PDF for the scanned images, and from the UI you have a pre-processing. We have built a pre-processing input layer, which ideally gets the document ready, or which cleans the document for it to be sent across to Amazon Textract to get the highest level of accuracy. So over a period of time, I'm sure just like us, you would also gain some amount of experience. Because we have processed so many thousands of documents, we have learned as to what is necessary for us to customize the input to get the best extraction quality. That's exactly what the pre-processing input step does, and we pass the pre-processed image to Amazon Textract. Once it identifies and gives a JSON output, we consolidate the JSON output into whatever we would want to based on the input document. And post-processing output is another step that we have to ensure that we get a near 100% accuracy. I mean, just to repeat, we have this to ensure that we provide an output which is near 100% accuracy. Trust me, real world documents are a lot different, and we have seen some of them. And yeah, I mean, having something like this definitely helps us. Once it is done, we send the completed output to an S3 bucket. And we have used in this use case, which we're going to show to you, we have used the Amazon SCS service to email the output directly to the user. What you could also do is you could pipe the output from the S3 bucket onto a different machine, or to your application directly via the API call. I mean, your application, if it's supposed to receive Excel as an input, you ensure that you convert the JSON in the post-processing step to an Excel file or a CSV file, and store it in S3 bucket. And from whenever there's a new file in the S3 bucket, you can probably create like a Lambda service to send that object over, send the Excel file, in fact, over to the application that you eventually want to use the output to. So I think that pretty much covers what is required. So in fact, we have containerized the entire solution in one single Docker container, which makes it very easy for us to deploy and scale as and when it's required. This, like we discussed, this can be deployed as a standalone application where the user can manually go ahead and upload the document, or we can generate an API which can be called with the existing application that the business has, and send the documents through the API as such. So that's exactly what we have for you in this section. So quickly over to Megan for the next part.
Hey, all right, so now we are on to the next bit of just the timing of actually implementing a document extraction solution in your organization. So I'll give everybody some time to vote, and then we will get a little bit of information and share it with the rest of the crowd. And then after this, we'll go on break, and then take a 20-minute break or so, and then reconvene for the lab session for actually in-depth hands-on exposure to actually building an extraction tool. I'll give everybody a few more seconds to vote, about 30 seconds, so we can gather everybody's information. All right, I will close the poll in about 10 seconds, and then I will share the results with everybody. All right, I'm sharing these results now. 14% have already implemented. 29% are looking to implement now or the immediate future. 0% within 3 to 6 months. And then a lot of the group is really in the discovery phase right now. And then 14% not looking to implement. Great, thank you all so much for participating.
I think before we get started with the next poll, immediately after this poll question, please do let us know if there's any technical issue to us, Megan, if we can also quickly talk about it so that everything is set up before we get to the lab session.
Yeah, if anybody has any kind of issues at all, just let us know in the chat. Raise your hand as well. We can actually enable you to talk, and we can kind of figure that out on the spot if that's necessary. Vish and the rest of the team and I will also be, sorry about that, will also be around and available, leaving the chat open. So that way everybody, can let us know for the next 20 minutes or so after we finish this poll, if you guys are having any difficulties at all. And then I've also, one other note, Grubhub gift cards, as well as the lab access info. There's a couple of folks that we reached out to via chat on here to confirm your email address. So that way we could actually send you that code and make sure that that email is going to the right person, because some attendees didn't log on with full names, more so initials and that sort of thing. So just chit chat us back, and then we'll be able to send you that lab workstation login information, as well as your $20 Grubhub gift card to go ahead and order some lunch or some dinner or breakfast, depending on wherever you are. All right, so I'm going to launch the next poll. And then that's it for polls for the day, and I will really appreciate all of your participation. So this is really about implementation challenges. For those of you who are just even in the beginning phases, what those challenges might be. So I've got a couple of options for you guys, just to let us know what some of those pain points are. So I'll let you guys vote for a few. Let this go for about another 30 seconds to gather all of the results, and I will share those with you as well. Ooh, results pouring in. Thank you guys. And then this was a multiple choice, so there's various you'll see the percentages don't add up because it's not a one option. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and shut this down in 15 seconds because there's still some results coming in. And I'll be closing in 5. So this is actually a really interesting, probably one of the most interesting poll results in my opinion. To kind of hand back off to the technical team. And so lack of skilled resources, 33% of you are, don't have the right resources in place. And lack of business use case, 17%, 33% technical challenges, 33% budget constraints, and 33% had some others. So that's a really interesting poll results. Thank you all so much. And that is it for the polls. So does anybody have any questions, comments?
Yeah, I think we're happy to take some Q&A now.
Yeah, I think there is there's one Q&A, one question right now. The experience with extracting cursive handwriting, not written in straight lines. So that's a good one we can answer right now for everybody.
Exactly. So at this moment of time, we don't have Textract having that capability, and it's getting developed, and you should soon see that in the market available to all of us. I think that should answer that.
Yep, great. All right, I don't see any more in the Q&A. We've answered all of the questions in there. So if you guys have any questions, you can also answer here. Take a look at some of them and see if one of the questions you might have has been answered. All right.
Okay.
So now,
Thank you.
yeah, perfect timing. We actually hit the minute on the mark exactly for our agenda schedule. So we will see everybody back here in 20 minutes, and that is 1:10 Eastern Standard Time. So 20 minutes, you know, we will keep this live, keep this, the chat available, and we are happy to answer any questions that you guys have, but we'll see you guys soon. Enjoy your break, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you at the lab. All right, welcome back, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started with the lab. We have not heard anything in terms of access issues, so we're hoping everybody is good to go. If you do have any other issues, please feel free to let us know in the chat as we walk through this. Vish, I'll let you take the reins from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. I think I'm going to reshare another window in my system now. Okay, please let me know once you see Amazon Workspaces desktop from my side. Great. Okay. For those who have successfully logged in, you should see the exact same window as I'm seeing here. This is the Workspaces Windows desktop that we have created for you for us to do this lab session. I think the first step, what we would like to do is we see a set of a zip file that we have placed for you in your desktop. So please right-click and click on Extract All. Before you click on Extract, just try to remove this path, which is my script, because that will create an additional folder in Windows. So you will have to go 2 levels deep. In one folder will be as my scripts, and you'll have to go into another folder called as my scripts. So for us to avoid that, just remove that my script and click on Extract. And the moment you do that, so this is my desktop, and in my desktop, I do see something called as my scripts, right? You will be presented, once you're inside the folder, you will be presented with 4 broad further folders. One, the folders itself talks about the different scenarios that we're going to do the lab session on. The first lab session is for a single page image detection. Number 2 is multi-page PDF detection. And then the third is key value detection. And the fourth one is table detection and extraction. In fact, all of them also includes extraction, not only detection. All right. So I think we'll start off with the first one, which is the single page image detection. So I'm going to go into this folder, and I'm going to show you what is it that we're going to extract. So if I double click on this in this PNG image, if you see the file type, it's a PNG image, PNG file, which is an image file. If I double click on it, and if I see what we've tried to do is we've tried to replicate uh, something like uh, something like a legal document that you may find in your organization that you would which are typically scanned copies of images that you find here, right? So we have that document here, and you would want to extract the text from this using AWS Textract solution. This is exactly what we're going to demo as a first solution uh, for now. And for us to get to do that, there's one more additional step that we have to do. Please click on the bottom left windows and ensure to find command prompt. If it is not on your top list, just go ahead and click on search. Just type in CMD. You should get command prompt right away. And once you open command prompt, please see that you are under D users followed by your username. I think it should be user 1, user 2, and so on and so forth. So for me, it's user 100. So you should be under the specific folder D users and user 100. Okay. So from here, I would have to move to this folder here, which is I have to move to my desktop, and then I have to move to my scripts. So I think most of you are familiar with command prompt commands. So I use cd desktop. So I first move into desktop, and then I do cd my scripts, and then I move into the folder into my scripts. For us to see what are the different files that are available here, I just type in dir. That just shows like 4 different folders that I showed you. And so let's get into the first one, which is cd single page image detection. So yeah. So so we already have written the code that is required for you to be able to do this document extraction. So I think let's quickly open the code and see. For you to open the code, right click on it, and you should have Sublime Text as well installed in your system, and that just directly opens and shows you the code that is required for you to do things. I think some part of the code will be familiar to you because Kashif did briefly walk you through this as well. But yeah, let's discuss in detail as to what's happening here. Port 3 is essential for us to interact with anything that has got to do with AWS. So we are importing Port 3 in the Python code. We also have argparse, which is typically to take the arguments that we pass from the command line, and then we have the document name, which is nothing but the short para.png, which is the file that is inside this folder. We are going to use that particular file, set it across to Textract, and in Textract we're specifically looking at doing this using detect document text, right? Of the different APIs that we discussed in one of our slide, we discussed about 2 broad categories of API. One is detect document, and then analyze, right? So since it's a plain text conversion that we're looking at, I think detect is more than sufficient for us to do what is required. So let's go ahead and run this code, and we will see what is the output. So like I discussed in the presentation too, for anything that has got to do with simply detecting the text from a document, the response will be returned to you as blocks of text. That's exactly what you see here. It prints the individual blocks of text that is available to you, and every single line after line is what it will be printed. So let's go to the command prompt now. Let's type in Python, followed by this is script. Just type in SC and hit the tab. It will bring up the full file name, which is script1.py, and hit enter. And once I hit enter, you should see the entire text that was there part of the input document printing in your command screen. So just going to open that for reference. Going to minimize this because this is too big. I think there's like a literal conversion which is at 100% accuracy, which clearly shows how good Textract is. You see, William Shakespeare is arguably one of the, I mean, just to go through the first sentence of all times, it identifies punctuations, it identifies commas, it identifies the hyphen between words, and then things like that. So everything is extracted really well. So the only thing that that I see that there's a problem here in this extraction is has written. It's identified. There's a new line character after he and has and written. Ideally, those are post processing steps that we can, you know, we can include it as part of your Python code to ensure that you know, anything should go in a new line character only when there's a full stop associated. I mean, there's a full stop available after a particular text. Else, you know, that's like a post processing that you can definitely include in as part of your code to even avoid this anomaly. Yeah, but I think it just identified in a random fashion, and it thought it is a new line character, and it made it available in the next line. So that's the first one. That's the first extraction that we wanted to show to you. So this is a single page document. So we also discussed that Amazon Textract can handle documents which are of one single page or multiple pages. So this was a single page scan document, right? So let's move on to the next one, which is multi-page detection. In this case, we have a file called as essay, which is essentially a PDF document which has some text in it. So like we discussed, even if you pass a PDF document which is text-based PDF, so the only way for you to differentiate between a text-based PDF and a scan-based PDF, I'm sure most of you are already aware. If I try to select the text in the PDF and it is selecting at the character level, these are text-based PDF. Otherwise, it's usually a scan. It's scan-based PDF, right? So so this is the full extract of the previous image that you saw. That was a shorter version. This is the full version. It is available in 2 pages. A lot of text available. Let's go ahead and pass this to Textract. Assuming that it is a scan document, let's go ahead and pass it to Textract to see how good it is trying to extract. Right. So the code for this is going to be very similar to what we saw earlier. But there's a few additions that you see already as part of the code. I mean, nothing to worry, pretty simple stuff. We are using a library called as PDF to image, which is an open source library which can convert PDF documents into image, and then we are sending that to process to be processed by Textract. So this is a very important step that is also required for you. And I think I'll just include a couple of important points that is required here. So the def here, which says remove generic images to is ideally to clean the images after we are converting into images and passing it to Textract. Ideally, a cleaning function to take care of your memory issues and things like that. And then we have something called as image conversion, which is ideally used to convert your input PDF into images. This is where PDF to image is used. And what you see here is convert the image so that the DPI is at least 300. That's exactly the instruction that we're passing into it. So of the several tests that we have run, Textract kind of generalizes well across any set of DPI, but 300 was somehow found to be optimal, especially in the case of text, which we saw now, where I mean, if you look at it, I'm just going to reopen again for quick reference here. This is very dense text, because there's like a whole lot of text that is available, which are so close to each other, and considering the density of the text here, keeping a DPA of 300 is a good idea to ensure that you get a really good accuracy. So that's why we have kept a DPA of 300, and I think. Yeah, I think what we're trying to do is, and then we're sending this to Textract to detect document text again. and the output is something that we're going to again show it to you, which will be available in the command prompt. So let's go to command prompt again. So there's like a quick important step that is supposed to be done. So we have to go to a previous folder. So for which I have to use cd space ... which will take me to my previous folder. And in this case, it's going to be the second one, which we're going to discuss, which is multi-page PDF reduction, right? So I just type in cd followed by that particular folder, which is the folder that I have to move into. And within this, I'm just going to type Python followed by script2.py, which will execute the second part of the code that you're going to see. Okay, just take some time to convert because this is a lot of information. So first page conversion is done. I think, yeah, second page conversion is done too. So that's exactly how I think the emphasis here is how fast Textract is able to convert and how easy it is for a developer to integrate this. And you can actually build applications where you have a user who's even waiting for you to get a response, right? So I think the first page took about 6-7 seconds, and the second page took about 2 or 3 seconds. That's it. So that's the speed in which we can convert. Again, reminder here is even if the input document is a PDF, you saw in the code that we're trying to convert that into an image, and then we are passing the image to Textract for it to extract the content. So I think the text is extracted beautifully. I believe there are no issues at all. Yeah, definitely you can spend time in it to search for issues, but I believe you should not get a lot of them. And the accuracy is what is essentially very important here. Okay, so now there's also another motive for us to kind of include this type of conversion as such, right? So what you see here is a very big block of text that is getting converted, right? There are typically use cases where you would want to kind of extract only, you would want to extract only specific information from this long text. So in this case, let's assume that we would want to only extract the website information from this particular text. You can create a custom Python code to run on this output to extract that information. So, or you are specifically searching for let's say dates in this file, right? You can write you can use recognition to ideally identify specific dates in this document extraction, and then use that in any form in subsequent programs as such. So there's like a whole lot of things when you connect other services of AWS, or you could also use your own custom code from the output of Textract based on your application. So I think, yeah, that's the second part of it. So let's go to the third part of it, which is essentially the key value detection. I think Kashif also showed a specific example of this. So we are going to assume that this is an input form, which has a key and a corresponding value, and we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different keys and 8 different corresponding values to you. So assume that this is the input form that you have. It does not matter. I mean, it need not be also, this doesn't definitely look like a form, right? So the examples that you saw there, and the example that we're also going to show you in our demo of the solution that we have built are actual forms, but it need not be in a specific form. So the most important point that we're trying to stress here is that, right? Even though it is not a form, it can understand that the document layout that is given to it is a key value pair, and it goes about getting the output from it. So I'm going to go to now. I'm going to now go to command prompt to go to one folder below, and I'm just going to go to the third one now and run the Python script to extract this. Yeah, before I run that, let me quickly go to Scripty. There are a couple of important things that I want to show you here. So you see a new, I think, package that we are trying to import as part of this code here, called as TRP. So TRP is Textract's package. I'm just going to quickly skip to my other screen here, which is which shows the GitHub page for TRP, which is Amazon Textract Parser. So apart from building Textract, Amazon has also created another package which you can typically pip install into your thing, just like Boto3, which is like a parser for you to pass through your output text coming out of Textract. Because the output text is like a big JSON format. Assume that you don't want to send the JSON format into your application. In that case, if you would want to send your document, then you use Textract TRP, right? So that's exactly what we're calling here. From TRP, we're importing document, and the moment so we call the document object and we pass the response from Textract into that, it can understand what is part of it. And in this case, we are trying to get the key value pair from this document using the Textract parser. I think once we see the output, I'm sure you'll appreciate how easy it is for us to include anything like this. So I'm going to jump over to the command prompt and execute this code. Okay, here you go. You have the output exactly in that key value pair. So yeah, so one thing to mention here is forget the, please ignore, because we have not done any processing here. The order in which the output comes will be definitely different from what the input is, because this is ideally coming out of a dictionary. Yeah, of course, we can ensure that the order in which the output comes is exactly the same in the order in which you want, and we can print with the exact same order as well. We just have to search for every one of the key within those fields, and we can print it to you like that. So yeah, but the most important thing is every single one of them that you have passed in as input is identified as a key, and the corresponding value as well as extracted with a very good accuracy. So I think this is another example of how good Textract is for you to include. We'll now move on to the next section. So I'm going to go back one folder, which is the last piece of it, which is table extraction. So I'm going to go into the table extraction. Oh, sorry. I'm going to go to the table extraction folder, and over here let's quickly go ahead and open the input file that is available for us. So here you go. We have the table extraction. The table image is over here. So I'm just going to slightly expand. This is a dummy table that we have created for the demo purpose, where you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 8 different columns, which has information of some random fabricated personalities, unique ID, first name, last name, phone number, email ID, date of enrollment, region, and zip code, or like typical information that you would want to extract in the input document that you get, right? So we're going to extract that, and we're going to show to you as to how well AWS Textract can get the output for you. So for which we just write Python followed by script4.py. Yeah, before I get there, again, I'll quickly go and refer to the code here. Very similar to the previous one. Yeah, I think a quick thing that I missed here is in both script 1 and 2, we only saw that we're calling the detect document text API. Whereas with 3 and 4, we're calling the analyze document API, which we discussed in analyzed document, we are pointing out and saying that we are using forms, and then the other one we are saying that we are pointing out and using tables here, right? So each of them is very different. I mean, very similar in terms of code, very minute difference, very easy for anybody to include in their existing application as such. So I'm going to now go ahead and run this code that gives you the output. Pardon the output here because we didn't want to show it in a CSV. We're printing it directly in the terminal. So this typically indicates table, nth row, and m column. So this is 0 row and 0 column. And I'm sure most of you know that Python index starts at 0. So this is ideally the first row and first column. So we'll just quickly open this for reference. So the first row and first column is serial number, and the first row and the second column is unique ID, and so on and so forth. So you get all the different columns for the first row, and you get the corresponding response in individual rows after that. So row number 1 has information about this particular person. Row number 2 has the next person, and row number 3 here has the next person. So absolutely 100% accurate extraction. I think, yeah, this should be a good place for you to get started and give you confidence that you can include Textract wherever you need. I think another important thing that I also want to point you out here is, again, we're using the TRP, Textract TRP package. We're calling the Textract TRP package, and we are trying to say for every page in the response, and for every table, we're trying to so enumerate is a popular Python function. I'm sure most of you are familiar with, where we iterate for every row, and in this case we iterate for every cell, and we print the output in a specific format that is required. So I think, yeah, that's it. I believe that's exactly what we wanted to showcase to you. So you can go ahead and refer for codes about using any of this in the GitHub page of AWS, or you just can quickly Google search. And there's also a fantastic developer guide that's available for Textract, which is very useful for anybody of you to get started as to how to use, how do you go ahead and use each of these APIs, and what is the response that you're supposed to get, and how do you manipulate those responses. There's a lot of help that is available for you in those documents, and of course, yeah, you can Google about, and you can search for anything that is related to the Textract output. I'm sure you would get whatever you need. Okay, so that's about the lab session that we had. I'm just going to quickly switch over to the slide. Just give me a minute. Okay, so we just completed the lab session. We're going to move on for the next part of the slide, which is the best practices for building an document extraction tool. Okay, I think really important part here. So this is something that we have gained over our experience by trying to do conversions on different documents and so on and so forth. I think anything that we want to add to it, this is going to be continuously evolving for you to for us to ensure, and we will definitely learn as we go. But some of the important things that we know as of now is including image enhancement and transformation techniques before you pass a document to Textract will definitely make the input better and suitable for Textract for it to extract with a very high accuracy. A simple example that we saw is the example of increasing the DPI. I think we clearly showed you the code. Just making that particular inclusion brings about a significant difference in the output, especially when you see information that are densely populated, especially for documents of that type. I'm sure this will be very helpful for most of you. And then in deploying your Textract solution as distributed containers for for applications that require high availability is a very important practice that you can follow to ensure that your application is always available and always at service to be able to do the conversion. This is especially relevant for financial institutions, which typically processes hundreds of documents in a day. I mean, there may be instances where we get multiple documents. There may be instances where we get documents which are of over 50, 60 pages. And at that particular instances, distributed containers are really helpful because it need not wait for one document to process before it can start processing another request. Right, so that's something really important. Process the extraction to select what is required. That's the next step. I think, this is something really important. You getting the output in a JSON format gives you a lot of flexibility to process exactly, to take exactly what is required from the JSON output. You do not have to take the entire output, take the entire JSON and convert it into a table, or if it's a form, into a key value pair, and so on and so forth. You can specifically pass through that JSON, just like how we showed you in the example, using the Textract ERP package. You can specifically select what is required, and you can neglect the rest, because you would be saving huge amount of time by avoiding, especially when you're trying to process things in volume. Just consider this. If you're trying to process 1,000 documents, the amount of time that your application would take to let's say if there are 30 fields, 30 into 1,000 is about 30,000 fields, right? And you don't need all the 30 fields. You just probably need only 3 of them. That's like a huge amount of time and a huge amount of resources that you would definitely save for you to do it. So that's exactly why we have a JSON output format where you can customize things in a lot of different way. I think, you should definitely use those. Using confidence score when necessary. I think there was a fantastic example that we saw from Kashif's presentation. Confidence score are really useful, not only for including a human in the loop, for you to understand and for you to analyze these confidence score is also something that is useful. I think, I just want to quickly jump on to one point here. If you save the document processing logs, that itself is an information that you're trying to gather over a period of time to improve your API and to improve the performance of your application that you're trying to build. You would over time you would be able to learn a lot and try to improve the accuracy of extraction and as well as extract it quicker as such, right? So please make sure to use confidence score wherever it is necessary, and please do save it as part of the logs that is going to be generated from your application. So human in the loop system for high accuracy and consistency is something that we already saw. I don't want to go about it. I think the last point is about triggering synchronous versus asynchronous extraction when it is necessary is another best practice for you to do it. If it's multi-pages, I think you should go ahead and definitely try out asynchronous. But if your application is mission critical and it requires you to extract the document in a specific period of time, at that point of time, I think it makes more sense. But if there's something, if it's like a back office job, if it's like something that you don't want to, if there's something that you're not having the user to wait for your output, definitely it's not required. So please use it as and when it's required. These are some of the best practices that we have learned over a period of time. for us to build a very good extraction quality. Another quick thing that I would want to share is the blog that we have written, which talks about extraction assets. If you go to Amazon blog, you can quickly go to if you quickly search for improving data extraction process using Amazon Textract I think this is a blog that we have recently written. One of the data scientists in our team did help us to publish this. There's like a whole lot of steps that we have kind of included as part of pre-processing the input, which will help you get the accuracy. There are some really good examples that should probably help you. So please do have a look at it. I think this should help. This should help anybody who's trying to do the things that we are doing. Okay, I think that's about it for the best practices. We'll quickly move on to take some Q&A questions if there are any. I think I did see a couple of them that popped up.
Yep, okay. I'm looking right now and we're just checking out the Q&A. It seems as though everything has been addressed. Okay. If anybody has any questions, please use the Q&A function right now and submit a question. I'll give everybody about a 30 seconds or so, minute. And then also if there's anything else, somebody can feel free to raise a hand. All right. Anything else comes in, we will definitely reach out individually. Feel free. Oh, here's one. Fish, can you go ahead and take a look at this question?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. For some reason, it's.
Oh, no worries. I'll just read it to you then.
Popping up in my screen.
Oh, yeah, because you're presenting still. It says, are the scripts from the workspace available for us outside of that system?
Yeah, sure. We can, as a follow-up email, we definitely have an intention to send you the blog link, as well as we can definitely include the codes, and we can send you the codes to as a follow-up for whoever has been part of the lab session.
Yep, that was answered live. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
Super. I think we'll quickly move on to the demo that we have, which we wanted to show you of what we have built using Textract.
Perfect.
Thank you. I'm just going to shut down this machine, probably minimize it, keep it later. Yeah. So this is Redax. This is a solution that we at Idexcel have built on top of AWS Textract. Redax stands for document extraction as well as document redaction. I think we are going to add a lot more features into it very soon, and probably we'll try to meet you in another webinar like this. But yeah, Redax now has a capability to extract information from scan PDF or text-based PDF. So we have a bunch of tax forms that we can process at a near 100% accuracy. Again, trying to repeat that at a near 100% accuracy because of the pre-processing and post-processing techniques that we have developed within Idexcel, which sits on top of AWS Textract. So that's exactly the beauty of it. I think this reminds me to quote a particular slide that was showed by Imran, and in fact, both by Imran and Stephanie, Kashif and Stephanie, which talks about the different layers of architecture of AI solutions. So at the bottommost layer, you have the machine learning models, and then you have the different AWS services, and on top of that, you have the AI services offered by Amazon. You can add another layer on top of that to customize the application the way in which you would want, right? Because your application calls any of the AI ML services offered by Textract using an API. So that way you can add that top layer, which is probably for a very specific use case. And yeah, one such use case is this, all right? So I'm just going to try to show you a demo of a very standard form that we usually are going to see. So I'm going to click on browse. Right. I'm going to upload a sample 1040. Let me show you the 1040 before I upload it. So the 1040 is this, which has already some amount of information that is filled in. You see, we have the first name, last name, social security number, yeah, of course, fabricated. We have the home address. We have a set of information that is relevant for a 1040 that has already been uploaded. Yeah. So what we're trying to going to show you here is how does this process. I'm going to enter my email ID here, and trying to, this is a tax form, and we want to use extraction facility to extract the content from the 1040, right? So what's expected, what we built is, as you see, it's processing, it's doing the pre-processing, very similar to the architecture that we showed you before. It's doing the pre-processing. It converts the image that is suitable to get a very good accuracy. And once a Textract produces a JSON output, we have our custom layer on top of it, which does the post-processing, and then the output is being shared across. So in this case, I gave my email because we have built the system in such a way that it can send the output to a particular email address because it's for a demo purpose. So I'm just going to quickly download, and yeah, I'm going to show the output that's available from here. So the output here is a zip file. The reason why we have it as a zip file is because if there are multiple sheets of input, you can typically, because there are some documents that comes in which has a combination of different tax forms, we ideally try to separate it as separate outputs. So this is an output for a 1040, but the reason is because I just put in a single 1040 form for extraction. So I think the extraction is like done completely, and you have the key value pair output for you available for every one of the fields that you see here, right? So there's a different set of combinations here. If you see here, there is information that is entered as text. There is address here. There are some information that is also available as checkboxes. We don't have any checkboxes checked here, but yeah, all of this can be handled, in a single shot. We do have even a custom layer tries to do a double check for whatever is being extracted, and it gives you the output at a very high quality. So that's document extraction for your view. We're now going to try to demonstrate the other facility that we have, which we have built as part of Redact solution. So I'm going to use the same 1040 form. I'm going to upload it again, and yeah, I'm just going to give you. I'm just going to give the email ID out. This time I'm going to choose redaction. I'm going to click on submit. So you need not do this specifically for every single time because it's a demo is why we have this information that is being captured. But we could make it as part of an API call. Whether you would want to call the extraction option or whether you would want to call the redaction option, and even in the previous step where we extracted the complete form, you probably would not want to extract the complete form. There may be specific information that you would want to extract. You could facilitate that. So for redaction, I'm going to select the output type as PDF, and so this is a 1040. I can select specific fields that I would want to redact. For instance, I think social security number is something that nobody wants to expose. So I would want to redact this. So when is that's also another question that you should probably answer. Whom am I going to send this form after I receive it? I mean, what are the different departments within my organization who's going to receive this particular form? So you can have specific versions of this form available for different view. For somebody who's in the finance team, I think probably social security number is required. But somebody for whom who is trying to do, who would probably want information on your address alone, right? You probably can only have that information. You probably would not want to have any other information at all. I think I'll also try to select. Let's say for some reason, if you'd want to redact the last name too, you can choose that. I'm just going to click on submit. The redaction is happening as we speak. And just like the last time, the redaction is being sent to my email address. But like I discussed, you would be able to create a pipeline where the redaction is actually sent across to a different this thing. So yeah, so you see here, last name as a field is redacted and the social security name is redacted. I think I should have been more specific in redacting. I mean, the last name of the primary user, because in this case, there's also another last name for spouse. That's also redacted. But yeah, nevertheless, you can choose the particular field that you would want to redact, and you can ensure that the redaction happens successfully. So this is exactly how you get the output. The other option that you saw in the redacts is you can output instead of a PDF, you can also output as a CSV. In that particular instance, what we typically do is we output the PDF, we output the CSV with the redacted information as stars or hashes or something like that. Yeah, definitely any character, any null character or any insignificant character as an option. So besides tax form, redaction can also do file with multiple forms. You could have a bunch of tax forms that you would want to extract information from. Yeah, so some of the most common tax forms that we already have, both extraction and redaction for almost up to 4 years for almost up to the last 4 years is the 1040, 1120, 1120s, 1065. And other popular tax forms. Yeah, I think there's like a bunch of them that we have the capability as of today to both extract and redact, right? So we also have an option for us to upload financial statements. What I'm trying to demo here is a balance sheet that I'm trying to upload. I'll quickly show you the information that I'm trying to extract as well. So this is the typical balance sheet that we have, and information of some information of the particular of the particular company, and we just go ahead and enter the email again to see. This is a financial statement, and of course, for now, financial statement, the only option that we have got from our customers is to extract. Yeah, just to mind, that was a scanned document, not a text-based PDF. I click on submit, and the extraction just happens and sends over to me. So the most important point in that document is there are in a typical table you would have information separated to you in rows and columns, but yeah, you don't have that information. But yeah, using Textract, we would be able to get that. Pretty well. And yeah, I think we'll just show you a quick example. So it can understand the different columns. It can understand the period information. It would do everything at a very good accuracy. Yeah, so the totals are here. If you do not want it for you to take this information into further processing, if you do not want the totals, you can also remove the totals. And of course, yeah, totals are calculated field. You can encode that in your application to ensure you calculate the totals from the extracted Excel or CSV. So that's about it. These are the different capabilities that we have of the redact solution. Of course, yeah, we're building as we speak. I think, yeah, we have some really good initiatives that we're working on to increase the capability of a solution to cover every facet of document extraction that that any organization would need. So yeah, so we will update on our website as we include the new capabilities. Okay, so that's about it. So we are done with our demo. I think any questions if you have, I'm more than happy to answer. Otherwise, I think we should be good for today.
Questions, that we can ask right now. Somebody put it in the chat.
Okay.
So one of them is, does Textract, can it read barcode values?
That's a good question. We have machine learning models that can do that, but that's a very interesting use case. We haven't tried that though, frankly. We definitely have machine learning models that can read a barcode and convert the barcode into a specific text.
Yep. And then another one is PDF the only redaction output format that is supported?
No, I think we can also output it as an Excel file because like I mentioned during the demo, in the PDF, we were able to extract and we were able to blacken that particular redacted field. But in case of a CSV output, we would simply replace it with a star or a hash or something like that. So definitely no, PDF is not the only redaction output format. We would be able to redact and export a CSV to or an Excel to.
Okay, great. So I think that is all the questions that we have so far. Does anybody else have any questions that they want to submit?
I think,
right now?
yeah,
Okay.
I think I see a quick question here. We use an app from Concur where staff take a photo of the receipt from a restaurant, taxi, etc., and then upload to our accounting system for processing. Is this type of app we could move to AWS? Yeah, that's a very good use case that you could move into AWS because yeah, I'm not sure if there is real-time capabilities there, but if there is something that you would want to process the bills to be in a real time, AWS definitely is your choice. Okay, I guess that's it, Megan.
Oh, yeah, I was just about to say, does anybody have any more questions? Q&A here. When you redact, is the data still stored with an encryption key of some sort?
Yeah, absolutely. We do not store the data. Yeah, we could isolate and have the data. So like I mentioned, we would be able to version it out and have the original document in a specific place. We could have redaction level 1 to be sent across to a particular set of users. So that way, yes, the original information can be stored separately for future use or for further reference. Yes, it is possible.
Okay. We definitely have a little bit more time for more questions if anybody has any.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't see any more coming in. We'll, I'll just do a couple of closeout remarks really briefly, a little bit of housekeeping. So once I end this webinar, there's going to be a really brief survey. Just let us know how we did. If you guys have any suggestions for improvement, there's an opportunity to write that there, as well as comments, kudos to the speakers, etc. So we really appreciate that. It helps our team build better immersion days going forward, and events and everything. So that way you guys get the benefit of our wonderful immersion days. So definitely let us know in our survey, and we thank you for taking the time to do that.
Thank you so much for everybody to joining us. Like we discussed, Megan would be sending out the codes that you specifically requested for, yeah, I mean, I think we would also send you the link of the blog that we have co-authored with AWS, I hope some of them is useful for you too.
Yep, we'll send all of that in a follow-up email tomorrow, as well as a link to the this presentation on our YouTube channel as well for you guys to look back on. So if there are no further questions, I think we are going to, thank you all so much for the chats. We really appreciate it so much. And then also just a quick reminder, if you guys did not provide your email address, please go ahead and do that. So that way you can make sure that you get the AWS credits as well as your Grubhub gift card. I'm going to give you guys all my email again really quickly. All right, thank you so much. One more. Q&A. Thank you. Great stuff. We appreciate it all. All right, thank you so much for everybody for attending, and to our speakers, our panelists, and the team that helped do everything to put this together. We're so excited that you all could join us today, and we hope that you can join us for our next immersion day coming up at the end of next month in September. We'll definitely let you know the details of that as we get those finalized.